Okay, so I wanted to go into more detail about why I think I'm being community stalked, gang stalked. And I want to preface this whole video which is saying that I know that not everyone is following me. I know that many of these people are just going about their daily lives. So I try not to let things get to me where I think everybody is in on this. I know not everybody is in on this, but a large number of people are. Not saying the majority, but quite a few. I do live in a city, so any kind of notifications, if I was placed on a notification list of being a dangerous person, which I'm not. There are much more dangerous people out there that are roaming the streets that nobody seems to be worried about, and some of them are like stalking me. I actually saw this happen when there's this guy that used to always look at me crazy on my walk to work. Kind of looks homeless, kind of looks crazy, I'm not quite sure. Always sitting at the bus stop when I go by, looking at me weird, and sometimes I'd give him an eye back because he's looking at me really weird every time I walk by. And I noticed when I went to work the other day, he was talking to the security guard, and they were both looking at me. And this is the same security guard that would obviously follow me around. I've never hurt anyone at work. I have gotten mad at people at work, and I have given mean looks because many of them were filming me on their phone, and this was obvious filming. I actually saw some records of people recording my conversations. I had people obviously snap pictures of me, and I even had one of the old security guards give me mean looks every time I left the building, and he would hold his phone at me and look like he was doing a video or texting real weird, just focusing it on me. And like obviously, like people could see he was doing it. I could see he was doing it, and that shit made me mad. But anyways, so what else kind of I started noticing when I was at work, and I think it goes back further. To when I was looking things up online during the elections. I had this weird situation where there was a black helicopter that flew over my place twice, saying something like, and it would circle and it would say like the dogs are out, hunt you and find you, something. It was really hard because it was up in the air and it was loud, but it kept circling. I thought, well, maybe it's on the news, maybe someone's on the, maybe some like, getaway fugitive or something. But now that I think about it, I've heard other people who are gang stalked have these issues with these helicopters. So that is very interesting. So it might have been something about my online activity, which I have the right to do as an American. I have the right to look at things online. So anyways, I started noticing this at work, but I'm saying it might have started before. So people would look at me, so I started noticing this back, people were looking at me weird, people wouldn't like it when I left the building. I'm like, why can't I leave the building? I'm very much able to leave the building, and there's no law against leaving the building on my break. It's my break. I'm off the clock. I can do whatever the fuck I want, right? But I would get these like evil ass looks, and even from the security guard. And then I noticed they wanted me in the break room, and I would sit on the break room couch, which would be across from the bathrooms, and I started noticing a behavior, whereas people would walk out of the bathroom and they would act weird, and they'd give me a dirty look, and they'd get on their phones and act all mad. And then there came a point where they would have bananas. Bananas became a thing. They would eat it all, like they would lick the tips like they were performing oral sex. This happened for a few people. They would eat it like seductively and let me know, like look me in the eyes. I even had females do this. I had like the store leader do this. I had a janitor do this. Like obviously sexual harassment. Anyways, so that happened, and then they started using gestures. So they used bananas, and they would always have bananas in. And yeah, I know, like I work at a grocery store, so like if they were spoiling it out, I understand if they were. But some of these bananas were good. I even had it to one point where they put a whole bunch of bananas on. In the back we have like what they're called bays, and they put like storage stuff, like not storage stuff, but back stock. And you're not supposed to put stuff that doesn't belong on there. Well, one time I'm out, we were leaving, and it's time to go, and we have to sign our bays, and right by where I have to sign, a whole bunch of bananas were on the bay, which were not supposed to be there. That violated a lot of like health code and stuff, and someone had put them there, so I would have to see them. They did not belong there. They were not supposed to be there. It was a violation, and I'm sure someone cleaned up afterwards. They wanted me to see the bananas. So anyways, I mean, it's obviously breaking the law. I pretended I didn't see them. But anyway, so they were using it as a trigger, and then they started using certain body language, like an arm behind the back that they used, and then whistling became a thing. Whistling and the arm behind the back became a big thing that they would use. And while I know people do these things in everyday life, so I'm not saying that everyone who does this is a gang stalker. I'm saying the ones that look at you and make sure that you know that they're there, and then do this action. They look at you and they start whistling while you're there, and then they stop when you're gone. They look you in the eye and start whistling. And then there's mimicking. There's obvious mimicking, where they do something that's like totally characteristic of you. Like I have certain character things that I do, and they start doing them exactly. Or like even like when people are talking to me, and like in an abrupt way they'll put their hand out like this, like snap at attention, like in weird situations. That's also a signal that they've been using. So if someone does that, I know that they're a part of the gang stalking community, or you know, the community watch, or whatever fucking shit they're doing. And then there was this thing with, I know I saw something about red dog walkers in red. And I'm not saying that if you're walking a dog and wearing red that you're a gang stalker. I'm not saying that. But I was outside one time, and this is after like they started giving to me like this visual bullshit of going outside. So now they have people going outside, and you know, keep an eye on me there. And I went on the side of the building, and well, actually no, I was walking around, and then I saw this person in red with a dog, just standing there, not doing anything. The dog isn't going to the restroom. The dog is just, you know, walking around, and just standing there, odd, just standing there like this. This person in this red sweater with a dog, and just standing there. And then I kind of got it on film. It's not the best film because I was using a flip phone, because my cell phone, my smartphone had been obviously hacked, or something went wrong with it, but it started acting funny and people started acting like they knew what I was doing on my phone, so I took a flip phone. So the picture isn't that great, but I do have footage of it, and I'll try to see what I can do with that. Obviously acting weird. Anyone that's seeing this person would think that they were acting weird, and then they walked, and then they stopped right to the side of me where I could see them, and then they just stopped. The dog's not doing anything, not going to the restroom. They just stopped there. Like they would walk and then they'd stop. Do nothing. Walk, stop. It's almost like they wanted me to see them, or wanted me to like they wanted to be noticed. They wanted to like stand out to me that is odd behavior. And I think anyone who saw that would be like, that person's acting really weird. That's odd behavior. So things like that. People seem to think that, oh well, it's everyday behavior. It doesn't start out that way. It starts out that way with very obvious signals that you are being watched. That only you, oh, the whistling only starts when you're around and stops when you're gone. Or they make eye contact and do it when you're there and you see them. And then they mimic you and stuff. Mimic what you say. Like things that are totally characteristic of me being copied. Things that I say characteristically. Like I'll say, sometimes people ask me if like the other day, like some guy was coming up to me asking for something, and I go, oh yeah, we have that. And I go, yeah, a lot. It's just me. And then he copied it right after. I was like, okay, yeah. And he totally copied me. Like, sure, he just does that on his own. And people copying other movements I do, sometimes I go like that. And people just copying stuff that I do. And it's, the other day it was handicapped people, obviously acting. Not saying that every handicapped person is acting, but when you're walking on, I've been on crutches, and I know how to walk on crutches. This person walking on crutches, who was obviously acting. They weren't walking on the crutches correctly, and they were purposely making a sound with them, and they weren't even buying anything. Okay, I work in a grocery store. These people don't always buy. Sometimes they buy something. They don't always buy something. They just walk around. And then I had a little bit of a limp that day because I had a, when I was walking, my thigh kind of, anyways, a mild limp, and then some other guy, like some guy in a brace, he's walking right by me, same leg, same thing, and limping, and right next to me. Like, it felt weird, it felt fake, and I handicap, like, people with handicaps, physical disabilities come in there all the time, and it doesn't feel fake. Sometimes, but you can tell when it feels an act. You can tell an act. That's an act. And they were acting like handicapped people. Like really, that, and it's kind of like, supposedly I've heard it's like a threat. Oh, you're gonna get hurt. So if I get hurt, please know that they've been threatening me passively through mimicking, or through acting out little skits and showing me little images of, yeah, just, you know, I've had people like go in there and ask for certain things and not even buy it. Like one guy asked for nuts, and I went in there and I showed him where the nuts are. He didn't even buy it, and then he looked, and then I see him later, no nuts in his hand, right? And he points to his head. Nuts, you know? I'm not crazy. Okay? Now, this gang stalking can drive you crazy. It can make you see things that aren't there. But it always starts with things that are there. So, when you're looking at the gang stalking, make sure that it's obvious stuff. If you can get it on footage. Now, it's really weird. Like, is this a coincidence? I want your opinion, right? Coincidence or not. So, because I was in the military, and they know I was in the military, people at work started wearing camouflage stuff that usually didn't wear camouflage stuff. They just started wearing camouflage stuff. And then, like, now the customers, either they wear white or gray, red and black. So I've been starting to wear their shit too, because fuck them. Let them know. Anyways, so, and now, like, camouflage. Camouflage is the thing now. And the other day it was like gray, white or gray, red, or camouflage. Those are the only things like people seem to be wearing. Not everyone, but the majority of the people in there. And the other day was military themed, because I just talked to someone about being in the military. So the next day they had like a soldier in there. Maybe he comes into, I'm not saying he's part of it, but it was really weird, because then they had like some kid, like, I'm coming from the bathroom, and you know, they know where I'm at. They always watch me. They let me know that they're watching me. Even management has passively let me know through little passive language that they're watching me. Yeah, fuck you. So basically, so they know I'm coming out of the bathroom, and there's the soldier talking to the, in full battle dress uniform, talking to the security guard, like in my line of sight, and then this kid comes running out in like full camouflage uniform. Not uniform, but like patterns. He wasn't in uniform, but he was in the camouflage pattern. He just comes running out. And just like weird shit like that, like weird little skits. Like every time like they know something about you or something, then they'll act it out. Or it'll become a prominent theme the next day. It's really, really weird. And I know that happens a lot in gang stalking. And I'm not trying to say I'm paranoid, but it's just the intensity of it. That's the thing, and it's the intensity. Like, you know something's up. Other people might be like, oh, well, whatever, that's a happenstance, that's coincidence. Yeah. Is it? I doubt that boy was his kid. The soldier's kid. I mean, maybe the kid was adopted. I mean, the kid was African American and the guy was Caucasian. I mean, maybe that's the case. Maybe that was his kid and he just likes wearing. But possibly not. The amount of camouflage I've seen at work has gone drastically up since I've talked about being in the military. And it's not something that they don't know. I mean, I had it on my fucking resume. It's not something, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird the way they do shit. You know, I could go on about this. I'm just trying to say that while I know it can go into paranoiaville, so I try, the best thing to kind of do is know that it's there, but try to ignore it as best you can. I mean, they're just going to say you're crazy. Hell, even my boyfriend thinks I'm crazy. But I'm not. This didn't happen before. It obviously got weird. It started when I obviously knew I was being watched by people letting me know that they were watching me, which violates my constitutional right. There's no reason for them to be watching me. I'm allowed to look at things online. It's publicly posted online. I'm allowed to have an opinion. There's worse people out there actually committing crimes. Oh, and another thing, like the skits. Like, people, like, yeah, I know not everything is a skit. I'm not going into that realm. But, like, I go into, like, a store that I frequent regular, and then people started doing things that I do at work, like, when I'd be in there, like, whistling, or they'd have someone follow me around the store. Like, I'm not going to steal. Follow me around the store. And then when I was waiting at the checkout one time, this woman comes in, and I don't know if she's homeless or what, and then one of the guys goes, "Is that Mary?" My name. That's my name. So, "Is that Mary?" And then the person is like, they didn't say anything. He's like, "Get out! You better go." And then he like moves her out of the door. And this is before I knew about street theater. I had no idea. I knew that it was weird. I'm like, that's weird. She just happens to have the same name as me. And to think that like they're getting her out of the store, that's a message to me that they don't want me to come there, that I'm not welcome there. Unless her name just happens to be Mary and she causes trouble in there, and I just happen to be standing there, I doubt it. Anyways. So, whatever. It's hard to explain to people who haven't been through it, but I do know that I'm being watched, at least to some degree. Anyways, I don't know why I'm not a threat. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a veteran, and they watch veterans more than other people. Or I looked at the wrong thing, and I question a lot of stuff, and I question things, and also too the sexual harassment that was at the store. Now I don't know if that was actually sexual harassment, if they were trying to get me to do a crime, because hints to prostitution have been really communicated, and drug use, and hard drug use. So maybe there's that drug element, maybe organized crime. I don't know. It's really weird, and I don't know what's real, and what's really going on to say. Like, it could be an act, could maybe make me think that that's going on. I have no idea, but something fishy is going on, and I'm being watched for no fucking reason. There's no warrant. It's unconstitutional. This is unconstitutional. It's a violation of human rights. It's a human rights violation. It's a privacy violation, and it needs to be stopped. But I'm just kind of going into why I think that I'm being followed. And like I said, not everyone is following me, but there are people who seem to be watching me and seem to know where I'm at. So there is that. And I just thought I'd put this out here to kind of go into more detail. I think it's easier just to talk about it a little bit before, like, I know there's a lot of footage out there showing things, but a lot of people who don't know what to look for or commonalities in the patterns that they use are not going to really understand. Also, too, sometimes they change it to where the pattern is there's symbolism connected to the person themselves. But when people are obviously watching, I've had, like, when I would come out, like, on break and come back in, and people would just turn around and stare at me. Like, that's not weird. People just turn around and just look at you when you come in from an outside break. You haven't done anything wrong. You just wanted to go across the street and buy something at the store, or you wanted to eat outside or eat across the street, and they're, like, giving you, like, this thing like you did something wrong. I even had someone at the front desk be like, "She's in the building." Like, and things like that. Like, people, like, I'd walk by, and people that were working at the front desk were, like, obviously talking about me, and like, "Oh, well, she looked like this when she went outside." I'm like, really? It's weird. This shit is real, and people don't see it because it's not happening to them. But they will. And when it happens to them, they'll see it. But I just thought I'd talk about this and get some more coverage of it, so people know what's going on. Anyways, I'll have more footage coming up next. So until then, bye.